This is Randall Root, and this video is about exercise 2-4. In this particular exercise, your goal is to kind of see what it looks like to have a analysis server project added to your solution. Now, analysis server can be really quite complex. In fact, you may have noticed that a lot of the chapters in the book are devoted to it. The deal is that even though it's really complex, I still want to show you that it was part of a kind of a standard BI solution that Microsoft makes. So what I did is I went ahead and created the entire project for you, the analysis server project for you, and in this exercise you just add my existing solution, or project, excuse me, to the solution. This is a little bit different than the previous one. The previous one you made a brand new project and then added an existing file. This one you actually go ahead and create, you go ahead and add in an existing project, and the project already has several files associated with it. So what happens is that you end up with a new project in your solution, or an existing project in your solution, with all the files associated with it. So anyway, the deal is you will go to your solution file and you'll add in new existing project. So it'll look like this: add existing project. You can kind of see it in the book on figure 2-53. And once you do that, then you go looking for the project in the book files. It's looking for this little project file, and you hit open at that point, and it'll add the project to your current solution. And at that point, if it expands, you'll see that there's a bunch of different files already a part of it. Now, in the chapter, I kind of reviewed some basics about what the files do, and certainly as we go through the book, we'll get into more details about what each of these files mean and how they're used and what they mean to you and all that other stuff. But in this example, really, I just want to show that how you add in a project. Now, whenever you add in somebody else's project to your solution, the connections are often something you need to check. And the way you check a connection in analysis server is you go to the data sources DS file, data source file. You double click on it, and once you're there, you check to make sure that you're connecting to your proper server. If I hit the edit button, I can use that test button like we did earlier to verify that I can connect. Once again, if you're using a named instance, you will have to put a slash there and put in the name. In addition to that, though, you also have to go to the impersonation side of things. And on this impersonation tab, I actually kind of gave you a pretty big hint here about what you're supposed to put in here. So you put in the name of your machine. Like this is Northwest Tech -01. If I can spell tech. You can also get away with a dot most of the time. It'll forgive you. But actually, the name of the computer is usually a little bit better at working. So sometimes it's just picky. If you forget the name of your computer, you can right-click on the computer option here and say Properties. It will show you the name of your computer right there. Northwest Tech 01 is on there. Anyway, now after that, you put in your password. And as I hint here, you need to be an administrator. So like I have a Randall account for this particular machine, and I am the administrator. There is an additional level of administration in Windows, actually the true administrator account, and I refer to that in part of the book, so hopefully you've come across that. This should be sufficient though, and I put my password that I normally log in with. Say OK at that point, and now this connection should work. This data configuration, again, is a little bit tricky, but you'll get more information about it in upcoming chapters. So setting the connection there and setting the impersonation. Now, at that point, You can try to upload the files or deploy it to the server, and this again can be a little tricky. One of the issues is if I try to build the project, and build it, it takes all my little files and it tells me the build succeeded. And by little files, I mean these files here. They all get mashed into a master file that then gets uploaded to my analysis server. But if I go ahead and try to deploy it, it may actually bounce against it. And when it does, I should be able to get some error messages here about what's going on here. For one thing, it's looking for a host called localhost SQL 2011. The reason for that is when Chapter 2 was written, it was way back before the SQL 2012 came out. It was during the beta. So the deal is now I know what the error is. I'd go through and find out how to resolve it. I kind of mentioned this. You go to the project icon, you go to the property sheet, and under the deployment section, you'll see where the server name's at. And I need to change it over to the name of my computer. Again, period will work. Localhost should work. The local word with parentheses around it. All three of those are aliases for the name of your computer. And of course, if I was using a named instance, I'd have to put in the named instance or whatever you called it. But I'm not here. In this case, I'm just using my local server. Now, this time when I go through and I try to deploy it, it should work. It says deployment started down here. At least it's trying to connect. There is another issue, though. It could be that analysis server is not started. If it's not started, obviously it won't be able to upload. And at that point, you'll have to verify that you've got it running. You can do so by going to All Programs, SQL Server 2012, and then looking under the configuration tools. And you'll find the SQL Server Configuration Manager. When that opens up, and I should have right-clicked on it and said Run as Administrator. Sorry about that. I've got pretty high-level permissions on this, so it usually forgives me. But see how this one's actually running right now, Analysis Server? If it wasn't running, you would not be able to upload or deploy those XML files that are part of the project. In other words, you can't deploy these files to the server. You can't deploy these files to the server if the server's not running. So in this case, though, everything went successful because the server is running, and I configured it to go to the proper server. So that's good. Now, once it's been deployed, now the analysis server can be used. And though I don't talk about it in this chapter, in later chapters we'll see how you can go through and connect to analysis servers from something like Management Studio. And you'll be able to see that the database is up there. There it is. And you'll also be able to see how you can go through and browse the cube to see what the data looks like. Kind of uninspiring on that one, huh? Again, this is all coming up a little bit later on when we start getting into cubes. This is just to give you an idea how they work and what the BI solution would kind of look like. Anyway, hopefully you won't find that exercise too frustrating. I've been getting some reports that people are struggling with it, and I'm hoping this video will help. I'll see you in the next video.